Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida FAIRtax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, December 5th, 2025. What happens when the FAIRtax makes the U.S. the world's best tax haven? U.S. taxpayers know that the FAIRtax eliminates the income payroll tax and replaces it with a national retail sales tax. However, many don't fully comprehend the enormous positive impact the FAIRtax will have on the economy, especially in terms of attracting foreign investment to the United States. The Tax Justice Network estimates that $21 to $32 trillion in financial assets are sitting offshore in tax havens. Now, due to the secrecy that pervades the tax haven system, precise numbers are hard to come by, so estimates can vary some. Now, the Tax Justice Network estimates that $427 billion in tax revenue is lost every year because money is sitting offshore in these tax havens. The Tax Justice Network explains how this is commonly done. One of the most common ways people hide their wealth in tax havens is by setting up a legal vehicle of some kind, like a corporation or trust, to hold their wealth or assets without disclosing information about their identity or about the wealth or assets held by the legal vehicle. These secretive structures serve as a curtain or a firewall between the owner and their wealth, obscuring the owner's identity and helping them hide the true value of their wealth and ultimately pay less tax than they should. Now, this secret money is being invested all around the world. Now, investment managers are always looking for ways to maximize net return. Minimizing tax liability is a significant part of maximizing net return. Consequently, a lot of this secret money is invested in countries with the lowest tax rates. So consider this scenario. The FAIRtax is the law of the land in the United States, making the corporate income tax rate 0. Meanwhile, the tax rate in Germany is 30%. Now that means that an investor could realize a 30% higher return if he makes his investment in the United States rather than in Germany. Now, under those conditions, where do you think a prudent investor is going to invest his money? It's a no-brainer. So what will this influx of foreign capital invested in the U.S. mean for companies like Joe's Manufacturing Company? It will mean that there will be more money available for small businesses to hire more people and purchase more equipment and become more productive. In conclusion, Mr. President and members of Congress, small businesses are very important to the United States, and you've said you want to help them. Now, the Kaplan Group compiled the following information. 36.2 million small businesses operate in the United States as of 2025. Small businesses represent 99.9% of all U.S. businesses. There were 29.8 million non-employer businesses, sole proprietorships and the like, without paid employees, that were operating in the U.S. in 2022. 5.52 million employer firms with 1 to 499 employees operated in 2022. Small businesses employ 62.3 million Americans, representing 45.9% of all U.S. employees. Small businesses contributed 1.2 million net job increases, representing 88.9% of total net job creation between March 2023 and March 2024. Small business employment grew at 13.1% between 1998 and 2022, reaching 62.3 million employees. Now, small businesses are punished by our irrational and unfair income payroll tax system because they don't have armies of tax attorneys and accountants to help them deal with our incomprehensible income payroll tax system. Now, the FAIRtax, a national retail sales tax on new retail goods and retail services, provides a family credit so that all purchases up to the poverty level for each family are not taxed. With the FAIRtax, there is no withholding from your paycheck, and you never have to file a tax return again telling the government how much you earned and how much you spent. And most of all, you will never be harassed by the IRS ever again with the FAIRtax. Now, many of you have labored tirelessly for freedom from the federal income tax and the IRS. You deserve a great deal of credit for your efforts to educate the American people on the need to fund the American government in a way that's good for America and that returns freedom to the American people. It's imperative, though, that we don't replace the current income tax and the IRS with an alternative system that can still be manipulated by the ruling elite. We must let Congress and the President know that the best way to replace the income tax and the IRS is with the fair tax. Now, make no mistake about it. The fair tax is a grave threat to the ruling elites. It will strip them of their power and their ability to control us through the tax system. Their opposition to the fair tax will be fierce and unrelenting, and don't think for an instant they won't use half-truths, deception, and downright lies in their desperate attempt to hang on to their power. However, with the support of this president, we can finally eliminate the income tax and the IRS. Now, of course, the best course of action is not only to repeal the income tax and abolish the IRS, but to repeal the 16th Amendment as well, so that no future administration can ever shackle the American people with an income tax again. We must come together and ensure that real tax reform, the fair tax, is not subverted by the elites in D.C. This will take the diligent efforts from all of us. We need your financial assistance, and we need your grassroots assistance. Now, if you have contacts that will allow us to get more information about the fair tax to President Trump, please let us know. Also, please email us at info@fairtax.org, and we'll give you some options on how you can best help us. At a minimum, please call your congressional representative and ask if he or she supports the fair tax. If so, thank him or her for their support and suggest they become a co-sponsor of H.R. 25 if they're not one already. If not, ask why not. Now, if your representative claims to be unfamiliar with the fair tax, offer to have someone come to their office and explain it to them. The solution: pass the fair tax. Now, why would D.C. pass the fair tax and give up an almost unlimited source of donations? Well, they won't, at least not voluntarily. The only way they will is if the rest of us demand it. Isn't it time to end this ludicrous tax collection system and the IRS along with it? Help bring about real tax reform and stop future IRS abuses. By contributing, or actually investing, $10.40 a month, you help provide a financial base to Americans for fair taxation. Now, if you can make larger contributions/investments, these will be used not for salaries, as we're all volunteers, but for the needed updates to our economic studies, which will be vital for all future years. Please go to FAIRtax.org to invest in AFFT and help us pass the fair tax. It's an investment in your and your family's future.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax, and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at FAIRtax.org.